Thank you for joining us. I'm very excited by today's guests. They're theater royalty. If you, that's all I can describe. The duo, Scott Denison and Carrie Shawn. Scott and Carrie, thank you for being here.
We're happy to be here.
Thank you.
So the first, I'd like to start from kind of beginning, from your beginning of the journey. What did the theater courses, Scott, mean to you that ended your high school aspiration to become a lawyer?
Well, you are correct. I was going to be a lawyer when my beginning of my senior year, when you put in your yearbook thing, I was going to go to Oregon State and study law. And I was attached to a drama class taught by Robert Logan. Was just out of San Francisco State, and he absolutely inspired me to love theater even more. I had been doing theater since I was a sophomore in high school, and I was actually, as a senior in high school, I was vice president of Contra Costa Musical Theater, which was one of the major companies in Walnut Creek, producing two musicals a year. And I just got the bug and decided that I was going to go into theater. My career took me from producing and certainly lighting shows. I've lit probably over 100 productions. And I was a carpenter. I've learned sound. Um, my weakest link is costumes, which I always tell every cast that that's my weakest link. But I really learned the craft of producing shows, getting them ready, um, sort of telling stories. I had started in 1970 Fantasy Forum Actors Ensemble, straight out of high school. And because I had been in children's theater for years, and I just thought there was something bigger and better than a 12-year-old playing a king and queen, that there had to be some other thing that was a little more natural. So Fantasy Forum began, and we started doing shows, and I was lucky enough to have a very talented mother who wrote music, and so she would write the songs. And I'll tell you, just in a little bit, I'll tell you how we created some of those stories. It was kind of interesting, but everything we did together, my mom and myself, to write 17 original adaptations or productions for Fantasy Forum was just joy, and we enjoyed doing it. We loved doing it together, and it was fun. Kerri came on board on the first Fantasy Forum show I directed, which was Sleeping Beauty, and I asked her, because when I met Kerri, she was a big star.
I was not.
Yeah, you were a big star, and I said, well, I'll just give it a shot and see if she'll play one of the good fairies in Sleeping Beauty, and she said yes, and that was kind of the beginning of our 50-year marriage.
I felt like he had asked me to be in a Broadway show. I love children and I love storytelling to families, and I was so excited. I had mostly done legitimate theater. Like had just finished playing Stella in A Streetcar Named Desire. So when he asked me to be Una, the good fairy in Sleeping Beauty, where I would need to sing as well, I just thought it was the most wonderful thing. And then I just been doing it all these years going forward, and it's just been a great, great joy. I still love doing it.
And once we kind of connected, got married, started doing Fantasy Forum shows, and I was doing other shows and building shows at the old Civic Arts Theater, 449 seat old Walnut Warehouse. That literally, before I got there, 9 months out of the year was the theater, and 3 months was the Walnut Warehouse for the harvesting. California Boulevard, which is really a major thoroughfare in Walnut Creek now, was the railroad, and the walnuts would go on to the railroad and go off to the world to wherever they went. Um, and then along the road, I had an opportunity to decide to go to leave Walnut Creek and go somewhere else. But I had heard that Walnut Creek was planning to build a new art center. And so it was one of those career decisions. Do I go right or do I go left? And so I decided to stay in Walnut Creek, and I became the manager of the old Nut House, as we called it, the old Civic Arts Theater, and then transformed and helped build, design, and facilitate building of the Lesher Center for the Arts. And we opened that in 1990. And from 1990 on, it was rock and roll. We did about 900 to 950 performances a year in that building, and it was a joy for me. Definitely, every day, right, Kerri, was a work day. So I would leave very early in the morning and come home usually after shows ended or shows began. So it was good.
I remember reading that you took over as a manager when you were a fairly young age, but 27, 30. Did you have
I
mentors,
was
or did you learn on the job being so young?
I kind of, well, because I had produced shows and had lit shows and really organized doing musicals, I was pretty well prepared in my mind that I knew what I was doing. Um, I I didn't know everything, and I certainly learned along the way. In fact, one of the stories I tell some of the people who go, "Well, how did it all happen?" is, literally on the construction site. One day I arrived early in the morning, and the foreman told me that today was the day I was going to prepare and outline all the locks in the master key system for the entire building. And I had never done anything like that before, but rather than admitting that I didn't know what I was doing, I grabbed paper and pen and started writing down what I thought, oh, this will be logical to do it this way, and turned it over to the locksmith, and he went, okay. And off he went for the next week and a half, rekeying and relocking locks, based on my master system. So, you
That's
know, you know, a lot of things were while we were building the arts center were times decisions like you had to make right now. And if you sounded confident that you knew what you were doing and this was how you wanted to do it, people would follow you. And I think that was my a skill that I developed early on in being 16, 17, 18, and producing major shows. I was I was able to, over the years, direct some really top notch Broadway type shows, Les Miserables, Disney's Beauty and the Beast, all the Cinderella, Hairspray, certainly Christmas Carol for some in 27 years, directing that show annually. So obviously annually, because you wouldn't do it around Easter, you'd do it around Christmas. So it was a pleasure. It was a dream, that I didn't even realize would come true, but I enjoyed every single moment, working for the arts in Walnut Creek. It was great.
Were you ever scared of taking on the role?
Scared? I think no. I don't think I was scared. I think I was always trying to think positively about which decision, if I made a decision, which way it would go. I always had the ability to uh, pre-think a decision. If I said this, what's going to happen? If I said that, what's going to happen? And most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, things turned out right. And I had really good people around me. I think a good leader surrounds themselves with people who know more than they know, and I think that was something that I was able to do, was find people that really, um, could help me manage and help me discover and explore and create things. I created the Shelley Awards for Contra Costa County, and it brought upwards of 15 or 16 different theater companies throughout the county together for one night to celebrate the magic of creating theater together. What that did is not only passed out little statuettes to people who received a Shelley Award, but it also introduced all the theater companies to each other so that Company A could borrow a prop from Company C, and Company D could borrow a set piece or an actor from Company F. And it evolved into more of a community in theater, where everybody was helping each other, which ultimately I never expected the audiences to only come to the Lesher Center. I thought it was good for them to explore other theaters, because those actors, those designers, those producers at those other companies might be the feeder for the future for the Lesher Center. And that was kind of a goal that seemed to work out pretty good.
And you also brought, like a lot of the county supervisors and politicians would come and they would be presenters. Therefore, they would then become aware of all the theater companies and they become aware of all the arts in the whole Bay Area. And then that made them feel a part of it and more supportive of the arts.
Well, it was kind of fun because they got the politicians who control the money for all the cities and theaters in the area.
Yeah.
They became excited about being part of this Academy Award kind of presentation, and they started making statements like, we really support you. We are thankful that you're here and you're able to do your theater. And then the theater companies could use that later on when they had to go ask them for some money. And I think that helped, and it sort of introduced the politicians who do control the money to the magic and live theater. It's
Very
great.
supportive thing. Mhm.
Lighting booth. Is that the favorite place in the center for you?
Um, well, when I left, they named the tech lounge after me as a
Oh,
dedication. So it's now the Denison Tech Lounge. That's where all the technicians and actors kind of hang before they go on a show. And I feel that's a place of honor. That's where all designers, crew, actors, designers go and have a meal or sit and talk and discuss and have meetings. And I think that's a good place to be remembered, is in that sacred place in the theater.
is Christmas Carol the most successful production over the years, or just most visited? And seems like it's going on and on and on. I've seen it a few times. Is that true that it's the longest production?
Well, it's the longest consecutive, yes, year after year production. Um, Sadly, it's not going to be this year.
Oh,
They've decided to do a different production of A Christmas Carol. Um, so I'll be trimming my tree at home instead of trimming the stage for my production of A Christmas Carol. But who knows? Someday, my production will come back, and if I'm still around, I'll be glad to put it together. I
you mean there was
I do
another
know.
production chosen, another version, or another?
For the new leadership.
Yeah, the new leadership chose a different version, a version
Okay.
out of New York, I think. And it's a different take on the Charles Dickens classic. So it's not my production.
Okay. Okay, we have to see so we can compare. I don't know if anything can be compared to the memories and the special effect and the snow, eh, but
We'll see. Time will tell.
time will tell.
We feel
That's
so
for sure.
grateful that we got to, it was such a really beautiful experience. Seriously, every year for 27 years, and that's a long run. And so we had last year we knew it was going to be the last time, and so everybody came on the closing night. People that had been in the production that we hadn't seen in years,
Um,
actors that had moved away, and designers, and it was just magnificent, and we got to all be together. They saw the production, and then we all got to gather together and celebrate, and it was a beautiful send off. And it was just it became really such a family, an extended family. And we saw people through the years. Of course, we went through people's family deaths together, and marriages and engagements and babies being born. And so it was really, probably when we look back on our lives, we'll know that that was something really special. And the audience was filled every year with new people in the audience, but also, patrons that had been coming since they were young, and then they brought their children, and now their children were bringing their children, so now their grandchildren were coming. So that made it such a special time. We're very grateful, very grateful.
felt like ensemble on stage. Sometimes
Ensemble,
actor
truly.
play to the wall or to the curtain, not to each.
Yes,
Here it felt like, I mean, being a spectator, being in the audience, it felt
yes,
like
it was
just
true
the story
ensemble.
heartwarming, and the production was just, I think,
And there were
highlights for many
no
people of the.
no egos. It was like everyone that came together came with a pure heart and love for telling Charles Dickens' story, and honoring the story that he wrote. And it was just exciting because every year it changed a little bit. Scott kept finding new ways, and the design team found new ways to add this or that, and it was always fun to see, well, what will happen this year. So yeah, nothing but gratitude.
One of the other things that I'm pretty proud of that we are all able to do, and that's create the Family Theater Festival. So once a year, we'd literally close Locust Street in front of the Arts Center, and we scheduled literally by the minute activities in all three theaters, activities outside, um, tents, crafts, anything that related to the performing arts was there. As an example, if a show was loading in, the audience was loading into the Hoffman Theater, when the doors closed for that show to start, I would schedule a different performance in the lobby of that would end before the audience in the Hoffman Theater would come out, and so that when they were exiting, there wouldn't be another show going on right in that space, but immediately following there would be. So literally the entertainment outside, inside, in the lobbies, all of that was scheduled by the minute. So we knew exactly what was going to happen, and we celebrated in 6 hours. 8,000 people attended that event.
And Chevron sponsored it, and was so supportive. I think we did it for 12. You did it for 12 years.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was pretty good.
a lot of that was another wonderful day, and there's just lots. It was a lot of wonderful life. Yeah.
Yeah, we've done it's not over. I tour a show out of New York as a carpenter and stage manager, so I travel the country doing shows, and so that's keeps me occupied in this time of my life.
Did you have any production that failed, and why that you think they failed?
That is a great question. I can't think of a show that failed. We were pretty successful with audiences coming. Um, are there shows I liked more than others? Yeah, I think one of my favorite shows was Les Miserables that I directed in Walnut Creek. There's only one spoken line in that show. Everything else is sung, and so it definitely, the feeling of that show was emotional for me. I loved it. I still love it. But I enjoy doing Rogers and Hammerstein's Cinderella. I enjoyed doing, Hairspray, all of those shows. I directed Carrie in Lady with All the Answers, the Ann Landers one woman show, and that was an interesting thing to be directing your wife, um, and the opportunity where she had to listen to me because that's what you do as an actor to a director.
You did a great job.
It was fun.
And then, of course, he's also, you've lit so many shows that you are a part of. Like Mel said, if you love the lighting booth and you continue to light shows and you help, you light a lot of Jennifer's shows and still are a part of that part of the design team there. And
I think of technical theater, that's probably my favorite thing. So is lighting, because you can create atmosphere, mood, style, everything with with proper lighting. And I'm sure I drive lighting designers when I'm directing a show. I'm sure I drive lighting designers crazy because I speak their language and kind of know exactly, pretty much what I want and how to get it, technically. So, you know, as I said, my weakest link is costumes. So the costume designers probably can suggest a lot, and I'll go, yeah, that sounds good to me. So anyway,
chance to work with you. You lit a lot of shows for the musical theater companies, but also for Center Rep over the years, and you got to work with a lot of wonderful directors. And
yeah, directors and actors through Center Rep and really Fantasy Forum. I mean, I always speak of Leslie Carrara, who's the female puppeteer. She created the character for Sesame Street of Abby Cadabby. She started with Fantasy Forum when she was, I don't know, 16, 17 years old. 14, that long ago. So, there's lots of different people who've done work that I've worked with, that Kerri's worked with, that really we feel we've contributed to the arts in the area for sure.
And they've kept in touch, and they're all so successful in their own right. And it's so exciting decades later to see that they were able to launch themselves into wonderful careers far outside of Walnut Creek. And
Right.
that's been thrilling too.
So starting thinking I was going to be a lawyer to retire in theater, and continue to work in theater, has been a joy. Has just been a joy. You couldn't dream it that this is how you could plan it out. It worked. It worked out okay.
What was the best part, you man, directing Carrie, Lady with All the Answers? What was the best part of collaborating or directing Carrie and also collaborating with Jenny? I know you collaborated on quite a few number of
Well,
musical
you know,
theater productions with her.
Jenny, our girls, we have three girls, and when the girls went to Fantasy Forum rehearsals with us, they would literally bring their sleeping bags and fall asleep at the rehearsal, and then conveniently they would fall asleep just before we were going to go out to the car to drive home. And so I'd have to carry each one of them out in their sleeping bags to the car. I later learned that they were really all awake and just wanted me to carry them out. Um,
Oh,
but, Kerri is an exceptional actress. She creates characters, and tells, um, it does exactly what an actor should do, and that's tell a story and help convey the story that the author wanted to present, and that's why you have actors, and actors can do that. And um, a good director makes sure people don't bump into each other, and follow through, and and help tell the story. But Carrie is exceptional in doing that, and whether it's Fantasy Forum doing a fairy tale or doing a legitimate show, um, Streetcar Named Desire, you name it. View from the Bridge, Shirley Valentine, won all the shows we've mentioned. Um,
It was really fun to play for him to. My mom was dying at the time, literally in the last couple few months of her life when we did Lady with All the Answers, and um, Michael Butler was the artistic director at the time, and so he paired us up for Scott to direct it. And it takes me a year when if I'm going to learn that much of a script, it really takes me a year to learn it. So I had worked really hard to learn the lines before we started the first rehearsal. But by the time we went into rehearsal, my mom really just had a couple more months to live, couple, 3 more months to live. So that was going on at the same time, but it surely was a character that was made up by the playwright Willie Russell, but Ann Landers really lived. So it was really a wonderful opportunity to play someone who had really lived on this earth. And so Scott had done a lot of research on her, and I did a lot of research on her and read the book she had written. And I even contacted the playwright who wrote the play, and we had a wonderful exchange. And I felt I had such an obligation to do her right because she was such a just a dynamic human being, and that was just a privilege to play her. And in both shows, center rep allowed me to come out. I asked if I could do it, and they were open to it, and Scott was open to it, and George McGuire, my director for Shirley Valentine, was open to it. And so after every show for both of those one woman shows, I would come out afterwards and audiences would stay, and then I could talk with the audience each time, each after each show. And it was so special because we had had such an intimate exchange, because they were my other actor, because I was in both shows, I was talking to them as so they were my other actor. And that was really glorious because they a lot of people would stay. I was always so surprised. I thought maybe 10 people, and I would come out and so many would stay, men and women both, and they'd ask wonderful questions. And it was just, we'd stay an extra 20, 30 minutes, and the staff was wonderful to stay so that could happen. And it was just great. That would made it very special, both of those shows. And Scott, I loved working with him when he directed me in Lady with All the Answers. He's a very generous director. He's some directors kind of use you as a puppeteer. They're like a puppeteer, and they want you to say lines a certain way. And he's very open to working with actors, and I loved it. I'm so happy for that experience.
I was the one in the audience after the
Well,
show.
wasn't that fun? I mean,
That,
that was just
that's incredible. You know, my
great.
favorite program was Inside the Actor Studio with James Lipton. And that
Yes,
all felt like just like this experience. And to be
yes.
able to look a little bit on the other side, so I'm thankful to you for that. I haven't seen
Oh,
anywhere else, anybody else, anywhere other theater, maybe I don't know, doing that. And that
I
was
don't know that.
really,
I don't know.
it's such an
Sometimes,
enriched experience of incredible, immense, memory that I vividly remember you and the letters thrown. The
oh,
decoration was incredible. That hanging on from the
oh,
wires right through the ceiling. And
Yeah.
the set was beautiful for the Lady of the Answers, and it was magnificent experience for me. I was like,
you're so dear. Thank
I
you.
would
I mean,
love to know.
some
I always love to know what's behind. So there might. So I thank you for that and mentioning that because it was truly
well,
special. It's
those.
not the right
That set
word.
was that set was designed by Kelly Ty, who also designed many, many shows at the Lesher, including
He's a brilliant
Christmas
designer.
Carol. He designed that set. Basically a three-level set that allowed people to fly, to snow, and it was a magical set for sure.
But since you do like that so much as you continue to be a theater goer, usually in repertory companies, they'll have like one night or so when actors might come out and talk to the audience in the
Preview.
sector sometimes. So you might keep an eye out for that. But I think what was special about this is that they let me come out every night.
Oh,
So
every night. Okay, I think I did a preview in the first night. I did a few with
yeah.
whether it's I did preview for sure the first night, but maybe
That's great.
I
That's
missed a
great.
lot. So
But it was cool to come every night because the audiences were always different. Yeah. theater, there's nothing like live theater. It really, I mean, going to the movies is great and all of that. And of course, there's so much different kinds of entertainment now on TV and all the streaming shows and all that. But, and since the pandemic, I know people don't, the season subscriptions in general, a lot of theaters have closed. You know, the audiences aren't quite as large as they used to be, but they're really, I hope people really get back to it because there's nothing like going to a live musical or a live play. And is there? I mean, it's
I
pretty
tell you,
special.
you cannot stream Shirley Valentine.
Well, that would, I
You know,
guess, I don't
you
think,
know, with
you
Carrie
don't.
Shawn, I've seen the other movie. Didn't do anything for me, honestly. So
Aw,
and
thank you.
even the video, yeah, the live
No,
emotion
I,
and
I
the
had a great
smell,
director too, George
the smell.
McGuire.
Sometimes you smell the potatoes frying even without I
Yeah,
hear their, oh, the range wasn't working or whatever one
it
night.
was pretty
But
special.
you,
Yeah, and I have to, I'll say his name again because he and I were partners. George McGuire. He's a fantastic director, and he directed me in all 5 times that I did it. I mean, we always came back together to do it again, and so I don't think I would have done it with anybody else. So he's just
It's a good guy.
fantastic, a really great man and a wonderful director.
is there different for an actor? Is there a different whether you play in a small theater like 133, I believe, or Hoffman Theater, 800 people or bigger? As an actor, it feels for the audience, it feels more intimate the smaller, and I love that experience so much more that
Mhm.
you feel
Mhm.
like you're a fourth wall. You feel a
I
part.
think I can't. I hope Kerri would agree with me, but I think in a small theater there is a stronger relationship between the audience and the actor on stage because for the most part, when you're like in a Broadway show or you're in a show with 2,000 people in the audience, you as an actor you really can't see past maybe the second or third row people. Everything else is black out there. And in a smaller theater where you might have 150 or 300 people like in the Lesher Theater, you probably could see 8 9 rows back
Yeah.
and you start getting the reaction from the audience. I was surprised when Kerri did Shirley Valentine's audience that most of the men stayed for the talkback, where you would expect the ladies to stay because it was about a lady who had sort of a different kind of relationship with her husband, and she went off to celebrate for a holiday and he was missing her and finally came after her to bring her home, and they kind of like rejuvenate their relationship. And I think that happened. I think Shirley Valentine happened really well at the Lesher Center in the 300 seat theater rather than being in the 800 seat theater. So doing a production, the producer, director needs to also decide, where are we doing this show? Where is the best place for audience to understand and enjoy the production? And I think in this case, the Lesher 300 seat theater was a perfect
And
size.
was in the Clausen, the Ann Landers play, and that was fantastic because I could see everybody, and
Hmm.
that was very intimate. And I think the difference is when you're an actor, um, like in the Hoffman, for instance, being in Christmas Carol, I was Mrs. Cratchit for like 16 years, and then the Ghost of Christmas Past, the last 8 years or so, and it was like it's just that you just have to still do all the same internal work, but you have to really use your skills to really project it out so that all the people can hear you and know what you want and what telling the story. So there's just that added challenge of really projecting it and not having such an intimate experience with the audience. But it's all I'm glad to have both because it's I don't know. I'm so happy that I got to be an actress. It's just been a great. It's just that's all so good. I just love actors and love live theater, and I think it's so wonderful that you love going to the theater. It's
One more question about Shirley Valentine. I know one of the point between the run of the, we had breaks. You went to Greece, and I
true.
understand you went to supposedly to
Yes,
the restaurant.
yes, I did. We went
How
to
did
the
it
actual.
change? How did it change, or did it change your view of the role or your
Oh, yes. In
of the
fact,
role?
thank you for asking this because we're actually leaving in 2 weeks and we're going on a Mediterranean cruise to celebrate our 50th anniversary. And we're going back to Mykonos to that restaurant.
Wow.
Hippie fish.
Yeah, it's called the Hippie Fish. It's where they filmed Polly Holland in the movie that they
Okay.
made in the early 1990s. But anyway, um, the lady who owns that restaurant, she owned it then and she still owns it, or she did when we went the last time. But it had been like 12 years since I had done Shirley, and so much had happened. And when Michael Butler asked, we're gonna for the 50th anniversary, I think it was the 50th or the 40th
40.
or the 40th anniversary for the theater, we're going to would you do it? It was the 50th, I think. It was for the 50th. And so I said, okay, I need a year to relearn the lines. But so much had happened to me in my life. My parents had died. I helped them both to die. I had the experience of seeing my first grandchild be born. We did get to travel not only to Greece, but I had gotten to actually travel to London and England and the British Isles and all of that. Being able to do that and come back and then do her again after all that life experience. I understood her that last time in 2018 in such a deep way. Every single thing I that she was saying, I understood to the fullest. And that was the blessing. And that I could work with George again. And he had grown too, and he had experienced more in life. And so together we forged our way through all of Shirley's stories in a way that it was so deep that I feel so lucky because I felt like, wow, I got the chance to do her one more time and really, really understand everything she was saying. And that was the gift. That because Willie Russell wrote this play, this man wrote this play based on the conversations that he heard his grandmother and mother have in a kitchen in Liverpool. And it was like, I mean, he understood. He really got it as a playwright. I feel so happy that I could really tell his story in that way, finally, in the best way.
Wonderful. Like
I want to
both
say
of
one more thing.
you.
You brought up Jenny before. I just want to say she is such a force of nature that as parents now and as fellow artists with her, because we have such respect for her. We love her so much as her being our daughter, but we have such deep respect for her as an artist, as a choreographer, as a director. She was a casting director for many years. Just her understanding of the art. She's a teacher. She's a theater educator, and she, as you know, teaches all the time, so many different kinds of classes. But she's just a force of nature, and in our lifetime, to be able to see that, to see her and our other girls and our other two girls too, Amanda and Kelly, to have a respect and love for the arts like they do. And they've been around so much diversity and they're growing up. They have such an open mind and such a love for all humanity. And that's really a great choice for us.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Carrying them in the sleeping bags to the car really paid off.
It
Yeah.
really did.
Yeah.
It really did in so many ways. Yeah, in so many ways.
Then there's a sentence. Critics are
I think critics are a tool to bigger and better theater. I mean, uh, do I agree with all critics and their reviews of shows? Oh, no. But when critics make a comment about they didn't understand something or this wasn't developed enough, it gives you pause to go, is that true? How can I make it better? And I think the success of directors and actors and designers is always striving from one production to the next to make it better.
Yeah.
And there's joy, there's enjoyment, there's frustrations, there's certainly arguments along the way to create anything, whether it's a space shuttle to go to the moon or whatever. There's always a little bit of disagreement, and I think the reviewers are doing what their job is, and that's to keep us honest and keep theater always striving to be better.
Mhm. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, and of course, some I think they have to be intelligent critics, and to if they really, you can tell when they really care and when they've done their homework. You've done your homework today because you asked us really good questions, so you took time to think to know more about things to ask us, and I think a good critic does that, takes time to really come with a history to work with when they come to see a production, and I always really appreciate and respect them. But the main thing is you got to stay true to as an actor to your director and to your fellow artists on the stage with you, and not let the critic change what you're doing. But there's always room, like Scott said, to help you be better for sure.
What inspires both of you now?
And I'm inspired still by art so much, and nature, and the kindness of people, and our our family, and our dear friends that we are so lucky to have in our life. Um, I'm just I I feel personally really blessed. Of course, lots of times life has been hard. Of course, for everybody it is, but I'm grateful for resilience, and I'm grateful for joy, and there is a lot of joy, even though times can get hard, or even hard now. Um, gotta just, I'm just feel grateful, a grateful heart.
I think for me, I teach through the performing arts at Jenny's school. I teach a directing class every summer, and I'm inspired by the young people that that want to be directors, want to be actors, want to be designers. They start drawing pictures because that's what we ask them to do, and they suddenly discover there's a whole new world for them that they didn't know. We always joke when you go to college, but it works the same in theater. When you start out, you don't know anything. You don't know what you don't even know. And then as you move along and get more and more experience, you don't know that you know something, but then you know but don't know that you know. And then suddenly you know that you know, and that's the joy of what we do now in teaching theater, is looking at theater through younger eyes and see how they discover the magic of theater, because there's nothing else like it. You can you can cook things, you can paint things, you can do whole things, but there's nothing, in my opinion, like live theater with live actors, directors, designers, and
Writers.
probably, yeah, writers, and the most important is live audiences giving you feedback. You can't get that at HBO or Netflix or Hulu. You can only get it in live theater.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, that's right. Being teaching artists now to the younger artists is very inspiring. Very.
Listening about your passion, Scott, I thought, did the director and producer ever compete with the manager inside?
Oh,
Um, Probably that's a great question. Probably my role, certainly at the Lesher, I had conflict because I was also responsible for the budget. So I always felt that the artistic side should not be controlling the money side. I still believe that. That as a director and designer, you want the set to be built with gold lame, and you want costumes to have trinkles of silver and gold and just be elegant and everything. And it's up to the managing director or the manager to say, that's all well and good, strive for that, but you only have X number of dollars, because we have to make budget in order to be able to do a show next year. And those, I mean, we were doing for rep, we were doing six highly professional productions a year, professional theater company, and that takes money, and it takes patrons coming and buying tickets, and it takes shopping properly for all departments, costumes and lighting and props and sound, everybody understanding that there's a limit to what you can do. I want your imagination and your artistic sense to strive for the moon, but you may only get into orbit.
yeah.
I hear you. I know you've seen all the guests from Lesher Speaker Series. Who surprised you the most, other than Dr. Spoke, with Leonard Nimoy?
Um, Actually, I saw him at the old Nut House. He came and he was a speaker there before we even got to the Lesher Center. Leonard Nimoy. Um, Probably, I mean, Laura Bush was rather spectacular. Um, while I was there, I dealt with the state police, um, the Capitol Police with Newt Gingrich. I dealt with Secret Service, certainly with Laura Bush, and Highway Patrol with Schwarzenegger as governor and Davis as governor. A lot of different people.
You love
I
the astronauts.
I love the astronauts. You know, who did Apollo 13. The originals came.
No, but about the man who was they made a movie out of him. You said he was really fascinating.
Frank Abagnale, who was the Catch Me If You Can
Something.
movie. He was just interesting. A very nice guy. All the time you're talking to him, you're also in the back of your mind going, wait, wait, wait. He was a crook. So you kind of like
You're telling the truth.
I liked him a lot, just talking to him and how open he was. But really, most of the speakers were that way. Were open. Donna Brazil was great. She even called me into her dressing room and said, "What should I talk about?" And I was like shocked that she would ask me what she's going to talk about. She's going on in like a half hour. Um, so, I enjoyed talking to her. I've talked to baseball players. One of my good friends is Tony La Russa, who managed the Oakland A's, the Cardinals. Um, Through him, I met, lots of people, Mark McGuire and Dave Henderson, and I don't know. It's just the list goes on and on. And the country western stars, they've just been most. I say most of the entertainers that came and that I've been with were just nice people, just really nice people. And I think if you treat them with respect and don't ask too many times for their autograph, you're okay.
Got it. Interesting. Is there a person, living or not, who you'd like to have a beer or a glass of wine with?
Well, for me, that would be Abraham Lincoln for sure. I think he was a man that had a lot of pressure, obviously. He had a country to pull together, and I think similar to sort of much at a lesser degree theater and pulling together productions and everything. He's inspiring to me. In the tour that I'm doing now, I spent a week in Washington D.C. and walked by in order to get to the theater we were performing in. Walked by the Ford Theater every single day, and literally became sort of like breathless as I walked by, thinking of the history and that Abraham Lincoln walked on this very street. So I think for me, rather than an actor, which may be who you would think I would say, um, Abraham Lincoln would definitely be somebody I'd cross the street for. And I don't know that he drank wine, but I'd offer him some.
What about you, Kerri?
Oh gosh, I think um, I would love if I could. I spent a lot of time reading and a lot of Eugene O'Neill plays, and I worked for 25 years with my dear friend Richard James up at Dow House in Danville um, for their student days. We did a performance up there for 25 years, and it and to be there in that beautiful place is very haunting, but to actually be in the study where he wrote Moon for the Misbegotten and Long Day's Journey into Night and some of his greatest plays, and then to have also, as an actress, been able to play some of the roles in his plays. I think if I could, I think I'd be really nervous because he's got there's a darkness to him, but I think that I would love to sit down with him and talk with him and probably several other playwrights. I have such a respect for playwrights, and I think I would love that. And so maybe I will have a chance someday because I'll be headed somewhere someday. Maybe they'll be up there and I can have those talks.
No,
You
perhaps.
never know.
Do you have any regrets?
Not one.
Not one for me either.
No.
Onward and upward, one step at a time.
Yeah. No
How do you
regrets.
measure success?
I think for me, I think family is a form of success for me. Um, to have daughters, grandchildren that have a love for theater, and I see it in their everyday lives. They grew up, as we've said, in sleeping bags in theater. They've experienced theater.
And they're all good with people, and they're really all of them are, even the little our little 5-year-old grandson, they're all great communicators. um, they have a belief in themselves, and I think, I don't know, we celebrating 50 years of marriage, that feels like a really huge success because so many people don't make it, to have such a great partnership and to be able to navigate life and to be travel through life with someone and to build a life together. That's been a huge success for me to have that with him.
What is
She
loyalty?
even she even still likes me, even though I'm home more.
I do really like him.
What is loyalty?
Oh boy, that's a great question. Loyalty is understanding what your values are, and those people you surround yourself as friends that have the same. And it isn't politics. It's they have the same desires, and you share a life, and you share dreams, and you share that, and you do not betray the other.
Yeah.
I strive to make Kerri feel really good if when she's in a show in production and highlight her success, and she does the same for me. So I think that's loyalty.
It's respect.
It's respect.
It's respect and just deeply caring and wanting the best, whether it's your people you work with or your family members or friends. You just want to cheer them on.
I think it's also, because a lot of times you're dealing with a new actor when you're directing a show, and it's giving them the respect they deserve um, for being an actor, which is a hard life. It is not easy. When you're an actor, you're thinking about uh, auditioning your next role. When you go to the theater to do the show that you're in, when you're going to eat next, and
health insurance.
yeah, those are kind of the main things. I always joke that when you tour a show, there's only three things you think about: when do we sleep, when do we eat, and when do we perform. Those are the only three things you think when you're touring. And I think if you have a friend, a partner, um, a fellow tourite, I guess we could call them, um, you respect those people, and there's a loyalty to that.
Yeah, just lifting. I think wanting to lift people up, and also to be your own hero, because people aren't always for you. And you find that out. You find that out when you're in elementary school. You find it out all along your journey that everybody's not always for you, and lots of things play into that. But so you have to also be respectful and loyal to yourself. And that, I think that's important. And if you get that going, then I think being respectful and loyal to others comes naturally.
My next question is, what after 50 years I hear loyalty and respect and perhaps something else? What keeps you two going after 50 years since Scott proposed in front of the giraffe enclosure at San Francisco?
You really have
Oh, she really did that out.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, we got married within 9 months. We were both.
I think we went
23.
on our first date in January. I asked her to marry me May 1st, and we got married September.
Yeah, but
I had to do it between shows.
well, I just knew we were so young, but I knew a life with Scott. I just knew everything about the life. I knew life would be hard at times because of just everybody, but I also knew everything about life with him would be yes. And I I I just knew it. I just something that I felt deep inside. And so the love just grew deeper and deeper as we traveled through life together. And I think it's just we're really good friends. So I think probably the fact that we're really good friends and we do share a lot. We're very different in many ways, so we balance each other out in really good ways. But we also have a lot in common, and that's been so helpful. And going back to just respect, there's just always been an honesty. We're able to communicate, and just a truth between us, and we're just really good friends. And I think that 50 years, that's important. Friendship is important.
You're a great role model for 4-year-old
Oh,
girls, that's for
I,
sure.
I think so. I hope so. We're a close family, and that feels good. We root each other on, so that's a good feeling.
Who or what makes you laugh?
Oh, Scott makes me laugh every day because he. I think sometimes he wakes up in the morning and says, "What can I say that will make her laugh?" He's always been able to make me laugh, so that's good. Um,
I think I laugh at our grandchildren that have a love of theater and of just entertaining, and I laugh that, oh my gosh, I guess we did something right. Um, I I laugh at I laugh at a lot of things in life, including politics. And not to get into that at all. I just think every step, every day when the sun comes up offers new things to kind of enjoy. And I enjoy um, the sun coming up. I enjoy the garden that we have. I enjoy, um, going downtown. I just enjoy meeting new people. It's it's just that's a joy that every day can be different if you make it different.
Yeah. And you really enjoy comedians.
I do. I laugh at some of the old things when I'm looking at tapes of Johnny Carson and, you know, Robin Williams on Johnny Carson. And, I laugh at some of those people that are just,
Wonderful.
they're no longer with us, but because of the magic of video, we still can enjoy them. And I just think that's great. Rodney Dangerfield was brilliant. And I just go, the young generation, unless they see that, they don't know that.
Yeah.
And so that,
Phil Ball and-
oh my God,
yeah.
there's just so many people.
People from our generation that we grew up with. Yeah. But there's so many wonderful now. It's just important to be able to laugh and not take everything so seriously. But we're also lucky because we have a home and we have a safe place to sleep at night. And I can go to the grocery store and buy groceries. And not everybody can do that. And not everybody has that blessing. So we also we are also able to laugh. I know not all people have that. So we're very aware of the blessings that we have. So but I think it's important. It's important to find things to laugh at.
If not Bay Area, where would you like to live?
Oh, that is a really good question for me. I in touring the show out in New York that I do, I definitely have visited lots and lots of different theaters, communities. I think South Carolina and North Carolina are absolutely beautiful. Um, but I would even move and put up with the humidity in Florida to be next to Disney World. I'm not sure I'd want to live in LA um, for Disneyland. Um, but I mean, I love California. Um, but I think South Carolina and North Carolina are two of the places that I've been to quite a bit. And they're just beautiful. But again, I wouldn't move there unless the family all moved there. And I don't know if there's enough housing for that.
We're just really lucky because all three of our girls and all three of our grandchildren we all live here in the same
That,
community.
that's a
And
blessing.
we're
I'm,
just like blessed. A lot of you probably don't even have that. Like, where's your daughter? Where does she live?
she lived next door, but she moved a few years ago to Arizona.
See,
See. So I know you understand that. Then
Yeah,
because
I think it's a blessing. We're very close, and I'm
that's good. But
going to
do you have
visit her in a few weeks on her birthday. But
oh, so you
it,
see each other. You make sure you spend
yeah,
time with each
but
other.
it's a
Yeah,
true blessing. I'm
yeah,
glad we
we're
have
lucky
that.
in that way. Yeah.
I mean,
Yes, it's really important on
we talked to,
grandkid children. That's the biggest
it's huge.
wealth. They're so wealthy to have you around and such grandparents, not just
That's
friends,
the
but
greatest wealth. Scott's right. To be a grandparent is a huge
yeah, and to
treasure in
have
life.
that ability to see them and to influence them and to play with them.
And watch them
Um,
grow. Yeah. And if we lived in a different country, um, I don't know. I would love to probably live in England. I love it there. I love that whole that the whole, all that Ireland.
Kerri would fit in really good because she has a really good English accent. So
And another person I'd really love to meet is Charles Dickens. I would love to have met that man. So see, all these people are waiting for me somewhere in theater heaven. So I'll get to meet them. But
mhm.
yeah, I think we love our home. We've been here for, about 46 years now. And we, I hope we can just stay here as long as possible. So we're just lucky, I guess, to live where we love. So we love living here, right here in Pleasant Hill, California.
We do.
Describe your life in one word.
Joy.
Love.
It's beautiful. And the last question I ask all of my guests: what do you find extraordinary in every day?
For me, I think it's not too late. You're never too old to discover new things, and the spark of discovery in certainly our grandchildren, and I see the spark of creation in Jenny at the school, Amanda, who's literally her right arm, um, and Kelly, who just really uh, has really followed her dream and has really created a really good Pilates and exercise sort of routine, and she teaches others, and it's just, I mean, it's great to see the success uh, of those around you who you love and hope have a great life, with or without us right here.
Would you like to answer that, Kerri?
I would echo that, as well as I find um, just nature. Like when I wake up every day, I luckily I love to walk my dog, so I take a lot of walks with my little dog. But I'm always astounded. I am just astounded by the masterpieces that just are for free, that surround us every day if you just take the time to look up what can be seen. And I think that love leads me into my love for people in our family. So it makes me more aware of people in my life as well.
Mhm. Thank you, Scott and Kerri, for your
You're
time.
wonderful. You just like really did. You really are a wonderful interviewer. Thank you so much for wanting to speak with us. It means a real lot. It really does.